You've heard of Adopt a Stray. What's this Adopt a Heritage all about? In West Bengal, why Mamata Banerjee's Trinamool has won over one-third of the Panchayat seats even before votes are cast. Dalit groups will take to the streets today. We look at why the law to prevent atrocities against scheduled castes and scheduled tribes was brought in the first place. And these images will make you sick to your stomach. A mob of men molest a teenager in Jehanabad. Look at the impunity. They filmed the assault. It's Tuesday, May 1st. Exactly a month ago, we saw Dalit anger pour onto the streets after the Supreme Court stated that a law meant to protect the most vulnerable, the Scheduled Caste Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act, was being misused. Today, a collective of 500 Dalit and Adivasi groups will take to the streets again against the Supreme Court order. To understand why rights activists say this Supreme Court order will render the law toothless and roll back gains made in social justice, we need to know why the law was enacted in the first place. In 1950, the Constitution banned the practice of untouchability. A law required to be enacted to implement the ban, and so came the Untouchability Offences Act in 1955. The Act allowed the untouchable or the Dalit access to the public sphere, which is temples, wells, roads, primary health centres, schools, etc. And if anybody blocked their access, they could be prosecuted. Over time, it emerged that when the untouchables sought equal access to the public sphere, as was guaranteed under the law, there was opposition from the high castes in rural areas. The opposition was violent. Dalit rights scholar Sukhdev Thorat says this was a reaction to the rise of the educated lower middle class and the educated in rural areas, who would assert more than their forefathers ever did. So that assertion led to reaction, which was fairly widespread in the country. This could not be covered under the Untouchability Offences Act. It is at that time that the Ministry of Social Welfare set up the Ilai Perumal Committee. It is this committee which recommended the need for a second act to provide a legal safeguard against the violent response by the higher castes. And so in 1989, the Scheduled Caste Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act was enacted. As for the charge of false cases, rights activists say that the fact that as per the National Crime Records Bureau data, charge sheets are filed in 77% of cases shows that the claim is not true. Additionally, Parliament's Standing Committee on Social Justice and Empowerment, in a study on the implementation of the law on the ground, actually found willful negligence on part of officials who investigate cases of atrocities. The willful negligence is reflected in leaving several loopholes while filing the case. The loopholes in procedure are then used by judges to acquit the person on procedural grounds, disregarding the content of the case. Despite the many incidents of violence in the run-up to the May 14th Panchayat elections in West Bengal, fiercely fought is not how one would describe the contest. That's because Mamata Banerjee's Trinamool Congress has got a walkover in a record number of seats. 34% of the seats have been declared uncontested. An uncontested seat is one where there is only one candidate, mostly of the party that's presently in power, as is the case in West Bengal. While the state has traditionally seen a high number of uncontested seats, the 2018 Panchayat elections has set a new record. Take a look at these numbers: 34.6% uncontested seats in the Gram Panchayat, 33.2% in the Panchayat Samiti, and over 24% in the Zilla Parishad. Political scientist Vishwanath Chakrabarti has been quoted by the Telegraph as saying the total percentage of uncontested seats would go up to around 40% if we take into account the dummy candidates fielded by the ruling party and the Trinamool dissidents in the fray. The last time Panchayat polls in West Bengal saw a spike in uncontested seats was in 2003, when the CPIM was in power. So, is there a dearth of candidates? Quite the contrary. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say violence has been institutionalized in West Bengal's electoral history, and intimidation of potential candidates is pretty much the norm. But do Panchayat elections hold a significance beyond determining who governs West Bengal's rural bodies? Yes. Here's why. Close to 40 of the 42 Lok Sabha seats in West Bengal are rural or semi-urban seats. Or in other words, 70% of West Bengal's population is rural or semi-urban, which in turn means control over rural bodies is a must for political parties ahead of the 2019 Lok Sabha elections. Be warned, this video is disturbing. It appeared on social media and was clearly recorded by someone who was either party to this act of depravity or a passerby who didn't think it fit to intervene. This happened in Jehanabad in Bihar. 6 men attempted to rape this teenage girl and can be heard jeering as the girl struggles. 6 of the men seen in this clip, the police claim, have been arrested. 2 others are missing. Did you know that labourers and workers employed in construction are also entitled to pension benefits, insurance, subsidised loans and scholarships for their children? In 1996, Parliament passed the Building and Other Construction Workers Act, under which 1% of all money spent by the public sector and private sector on construction activities was to be collected by states for the welfare of workers. But 2 decades later, only 9,500 crores was spent from the 37,400 crores collected. Of the 9,500 crores, the Supreme Court noted a mere 10% went to the intended beneficiaries. The court was astonished that some state governments claimed that the cess collected was used to purchase laptops and washing machines for labourers. Noting that the 4.5 crore informal construction workers in the country not only assist in infrastructure but also in building the nation, the Supreme Court has issued directions to the government to start registering them in a time-bound manner. Are India's heritage sites being privatized? The short answer is no. The government's Adopt a Heritage scheme allows private and public sector organizations to be monument mitras, or the friends, literally, of any archaeological survey of India's 93 ticketed monuments. These include temples, forts, palaces, natural sites like Ladakh's Pangong Lake and West Bengal's Sundarbans National Park, or basically any site with tourism potential. Monument Mitras have to adhere to ASI guidelines which state, among other things, that the company cannot collect any revenues from the public unless cleared by the government. After criticism over the adoption of the Red Fort, the centre said Adopt a Heritage is only for tourism amenities and companies would have only limited access to non-core areas. ASI still maintains the actual site and takes care of all restoration. What you gain is essentially water filters that work, better night lighting, much better signages and audiovisual guides, better online information, non-smelly toilets, and other such tourism-related amenities that the companies maintain. What do the companies gain? Visibility in terms of their logo on the monument site and on the Incredible India website. It's a lot like a similar Scotland project. So, is anyone making off with the Taj Mahal for which 2 companies are bidding? Not really. Could this mean better tourist facilities? Hopefully. See you tomorrow.